Now, in Trump's America, supposedly, what is your key to surviving and thriving, especially as a queen of color?
I think, it's very important as a queen of color and anyone in the LGBT community as well to be visible, to be active, to have a voice.
Keep true to who you are and hold your integrity and know your worth. And no matter what Trump America wants to tell you, you are beautiful and you do matter and you are worthy of greatness.
What are some of the biggest roadblocks that a queen of color would face?
I think the biggest roadblock is being accepted and not being judged because you are black. Just because I beat out a white queen of the fan favorite of the community, I got hate for that. It was like racial slurs or you're a black bitch or you die, you black cunt, or stuff like that. That's what I would receive. It took a toll on me. I started bleaching my skin. I just don't want the world to have to continue with racism over and over again. You are a celebrity stylist extraordinaire, fashion expert.
Thank you.
The editor-in-chief of Control Magazine, all-around businessman.
Yes, sir.
How did all this happen? Because I'm just in awe of you right now.
Honestly, it was a blessing by God. It was not supposed to be what it is. I was a designer, and I was working at Cheesecake Factory. And I used to reach out to Essence and Ebony and never could get anybody to respond to me. So one day I sat down in the booth and was like, I'm gonna start my own magazine. And it just kind of popped up and blew up from there.
Wow. Well, were you always into fashion and that kind of
Yeah, I've been
style?
into fashion since fourth grade. I used to design and sketch and then decided to go to fashion school, came up here, was supposed to go to the Art Institute in Atlanta. But then when I got here, they had closed the department. They were like, you should go around the AIU around the corner. I was like, okay. Walked over to AIU, liked the school, decided to go.
That's amazing. So you're from Florida?
Originally, yes.
Originally from Florida?
Yes.
So being that, you were the type of boy to, go out and, sketch and draw, and you were into fashion, how was that growing up in the South? And how was that accepted growing up?
Well, I was originally raised in Florida, then I grew up in Statesboro, Georgia, which is still south and small. People looked at me weird. Nobody really understood it. I don't even think I understood it back then. But I used to create and keep these big, thick notebooks, and I still have some of them, of my sketches and stuff like that. And I had this friend who lived behind me, and her name was Monica, and we used to make little comic books almost of women wearing clothes and different things and clowns, and just kept them and just kind of went from there.
Yes, that's going to be worse on one day.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good.
So, how are you?
I'm good. Just been working and getting the show together and, doing what I got to do.
That's awesome. In New York, yes. Okay, so are you from New York or where are you from originally?
I'm based in Chicago, and I'm native. I'm a Chicago native, but I do a lot of work in New York. So
that's
awesome.
So,
back and forth, and this.
Oh, go ahead.
No. You're fine. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna ask to make sure I get your name right because it's Cleon's with an S, right?
Yeah, Cleons.
Okay. Okay. And that's your like actual name, like, or is it plural, or is it Cleon's?
It's a combination of my name. So C is for Chad, Leon is for my middle name Leon, and S is for my last name Sewell.
That's smart.
Yeah,
I like that.
Thanks. Yeah, so it's when people say, "Is it my name?" Yeah, it pretty much is my name. It's just, the first initial, my last name, and my middle name kind of just combined. So there you go.
All in one.
All in one.
It's a combo platter.
Yeah, seriously, right?
So tell me more about that, because how did this, little boy from Chicago, this Chicago native, come up with this imaginative and innovative, like, artistic type of clothing line? Like, it's amazing.
Thank you. I started back in college, early college, and I would say that was like 2001. And it was just something, not taken really too serious. I was just sewing clothes to go out with friends that evening, and I would say back in 2005, I became really serious. I actually was going to do a collaborative fashion show with 2 other designers, and I had nothing to show for it. As far as they needed like a press kit, a media kit, all this stuff. I had no pictures, no experience, nothing. So I was like, okay, let me start taking pictures of my stuff, and I did, and it just kind of took off from there. I never did that show with those guys or whatever, but I pretty much just started to do my own thing, and pretty much promoted myself on social media. Back then, what was a big thing? MySpace. Remember MySpace?
Yes.
Rest in peace. And I pretty much got a lot of exposure on there. I did my own fashion shows, and that's pretty much, that's how I got the exposure and being, passionate about what I do. So that's pretty much how I started. But back in college, I had some college friends that were designers, and we would all make our stuff to go out to the club that night or that week. And it was just for fun. And 2-3 years later, became a little bit more passionate about it. So that's how it pretty much started.
That's amazing. So this is like 16 years in the making, like just all coming to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Yep, coming on into fruition. Yeah. So 2001 and 2005 were like really key years for me, because that's when I actually really started sewing. 2001, and serious with Leon in 2005. Yeah.
So you're from here, from California?
From California.
Okay. So I want to know, how does this little boy from California grow up to create his own handbag line? Like, how did that happen? How did you get into that?
I was surrounded with handbags when I began working in college. I said, let me find a job in college, and I did. Ended up working in Century City, which is right next to Beverly Hills. And I used to work at To Me Designer Luggage, Coach Leatherwear, Bloomingdale's, surrounded by handbags. That's all I sold. Handbags for men, handbags for women. And just how bombarded I was with the aspect of handbags, it was just a no-brainer to do handbags. And I think that's what God wanted me to do originally. I think that's why He placed me there, to do handbags.
So, Jonathan Justin, handbags.
Yes.
How was that, putting that into motion? Like, was it difficult? Like, how did you get that off the ground?
So I come from an entrepreneurial background. My whole family is just a group of entrepreneurs, from my mom to my dad, brothers, all own their own companies of some sort. So being in the handbag industry with those designers that I worked for, it was a no-brainer to do my own company. It was like an instinct, it was a sixth sense of mine to do that. So with that being said, Jonathan Justin Handbags, which is my name, became that, yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey.
Hey, what's happening?
Oh, life and things and such. How about you? How are you?
Just crazy, busy.
I know it's so great to finally like see you and talk to you. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. So yeah.
I feel honored right now. Like I'm in the presence of greatness.
No, don't say that.
Because I was looking you up. I did my research.
Okay.
As a good interviewer should, and you are truly amazing. Not only are you a fashion designer, you are a top 10 world ranked athlete. You are a singer songwriter. Like, what can't you do?
Right. No, it's been a long ride, but it all combines. I'm just a creative, so that's what it is.
So you're a fellow Southern boy like myself. You're from Atlanta, Georgia.
Born and raised, yeah.
Born and raised. What was that like?
It was good. It was. I grew up in a time when there wasn't a lot of all of this like social media and not even the internet. So I was only in my own little bubble back then. But it was really, really cool. It's all I knew. Wasn't even, I had thought about being a fashion designer back then, but that's not what little black gay little boys do in Atlanta. So that's a long time coming.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I was reading about that and I remember seeing that you had loved fashion and had been wanting to do this forever since you were little, like best dressed in high school, all that kind of good stuff. Mm-hmm. But you were actually afraid to pursue it because you didn't want to be labeled as gay.
Right, yeah.
What exactly about wearing that label scared you?
I think it was just like the unknown, because like I said, because there was like no social media, there were really no references for someone like me, meaning that I still, I felt like I was always different, but I know I wasn't like anybody that I could visibly see that I thought might have been gay. I was just like, I was an athlete. I liked all these different things. I just like, just the same things that anybody else did, and I think, me having a lot of friends at that time, I think before, when I was growing up, I was bullied a lot just by looking so different anyway. Like, I've been 6'3" since I was 12, I think. Yeah, since I was 12. No facial hair, very androgynous looking. And I got picked at from that, like, at age 12. So what's that, like, maybe 7th grade, 6th or 7th grade, just on. So it was just on, just nonstop. And people even said I couldn't dress, all these different things. It was weird. I know, it's crazy. But
of all people.
I know, yeah, but now that's the case. But not having any references of something to look forward to is the reason why Jamal and I both live our lives as though nobody's watching, just so we know there are kids that are watching like me, that it does get better.
Growing up wasn't easy. I may have a demeanor that's really courageous-like and kind of, be kind of comfortable in who I am, but it really wasn't like that for me. Growing up, I had a twin sister, and we kind of were road dogs in everything that we did, so I kind of had somebody to lean on. But when I was alone, it wasn't like that, and I kind of had to be strong for myself. I think when she went to college, that's when a lot of things changed. And as far as that depression mode, that's when I had my depression, because I didn't have that somebody to lean on anymore, being who I was in myself. Now, being this person that I am, it's gonna what's the word?
Ruffle feathers.
It's gonna rub against shoulders of people that aren't as outspoken as I am, or anybody that's just not as, just open as I am. I've got that all the time, how I dress, all the time. Why does he look like that? Especially children. But sometimes they have no filters in their mouths, which is no problem. They don't know any better. But, just the slandering, you have to deal with it. You kind of have to keep that good energy around you at all times. You got to kind of keep your eyes on the prize.
So, with this industry, there is a lot of input from the LGBT community and, from the Black community. I mean, both of those communities kind of join forces, into one and kind of set the trends.
Correct.
Do you think being a Black gay man has served you as an advantage or a disadvantage in fashion?
I would say a little bit of both. It serves as an advantage because of that, I am keeping up with a lot of the trends. I do know fashion a little bit more than some of the people who are not gay or in the LGBT community. But at the same time, I do think sometimes it puts a stigma on me as a wardrobe stylist. I feel like a lot of clients, or especially in Atlanta, want me to be, and I'm not that.
Yeah.
So, it plays on both sides, I think.
Do you think that's like the most common misconception you have?
I think so. A lot of clients will come to you and expect you to be this overly flamboyant guy, or they want you to be just really over the top, and I'm not really over the top. I'm real subdued. I'm real quiet, kind of keep to myself. That's just not who I am.
So inspiring. Before going into fashion, you were actually a businessman. You were you were in corporate America. You were a VP of a very, world-renowned bank.
Yeah.
What was it more challenging breaking into corporate America or breaking into the creative world? What was that? What was the differences between those two worlds?
I think they're all the same. I don't think, difficult is not really in my vocabulary. I know that there's going to be some, there are going to be some challenges, but I think that everything is a learning experience. So I go in with no fear. And like I said, I've been trailblazing because I just, it's kind of like they say on Hidden Figures, where you have to create new math. I'm just somebody that I'll get into something and I have no rules, or I have no thing that says you can't do this. Like you said, people, and it's kind of like what you said, who were your style inspirations when you were growing up? I'm one of those people that, you don't have to start from scratch and think that someone, to be a successful fashion designer, that you have to be doing it. You need to be on a sewing machine since you were 3 years old. Little do people know that the first time I ever touched a sewing machine was March 5th, 2010. So everything I'm doing has been within 7 years, starting a company and knowing all this stuff for all these celebrities and becoming this fashion person is all within the last 7 years, believe it or not. Yeah.
That's awesome. So within, pursuing your dreams, and especially, being, of color and from the South, when you finally did come to terms with who you are and what you wanted to do, was there any pushback from your community or your, family or?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I think it was all in my head what I thought that people thought of me. And I was able to get back to Georgia Tech while I was this world-renowned athlete and see all my teammates just a couple weeks back. And we shared stories of how, they had an inkling, because I got married publicly on the Grammys in 2014, but how they had an inkling even back then. And I just thought that they didn't know. And I was afraid that I think all my fears came from what the kids in elementary school thought of me. I thought everybody else would think that way, so I always hid it and was always hiding and always trying to figure out how can I change this. And but it wasn't until just recently that everything that I was afraid of, and I think Oprah said it too, when you start living your life just authentically, everything else starts to fall in place.
Honestly, I have never experienced any type of where people judge me or treat me any type of different because of my sexuality. At least I personally have not noticed it towards myself. I honestly cannot even think of a situation or anything like that. It was always just 2 steps ahead, and always made sure I didn't come off as the stereotypical of a gay man of color. Because I feel like a lot of people can feed into that stereotype sometimes, just to kind of keep it real, So I always, but that was just me. So it wasn't me not being myself,
Right.
but I always kind of just kept it, 2 steps ahead, and always made sure I just did what I had to do, and to get where I needed to be, or do whatever I had to do.
I want to know, because a lot of people are taking notice now and are loving your fashions. I want to know what has been the toughest part about getting, your little sewing station in college and getting it to this mega platform that you have now.
Working hard, staying passionate. Not being passionate is very lethal.
Yes.
In someone's career. And I would say I felt like I was a bit more passionate way back in the day, to where I've got to the point where I am now. I don't know what it is about me now. I don't know if it's because I'm just tired. I don't know, because I'm just tired.
It happens. Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my God, I'm about to put myself through another fashion show again now. I got to do all this sewing. I got to do all this back and forth to New York by myself. And, I think the main thing was for me remaining passionate. I did not have a distraction. I did not let something distract me.
What were some of your pitfalls or roadblocks getting to where you are now, especially being a man of color of the LGBT community?
I would say some of my most, or some of the roadblocks that would really kind of stopped me were other people, family and friends. This industry is so difficult that people don't really understand what it takes to be in this industry and to be a part of it. And coming into it, I had no advice. I had nobody to tell me how to do this, how to do that. And so I think one of the things that really honed in were everybody had an opinion. Everybody around me had an opinion about, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, you should do this, or you shouldn't do that. And a lot of it I had to really kind of hone in on my own and take my own advice. And, if I fall, I fall. If I, succeed, I succeed. I think those were the biggest things that actually really pushed and kind of stopped me a little bit. People coming to me and saying, hey, I don't think you should do this. People told me not to do Toni Braxton, not to do the Braxton Family Values.
Wow.
That would have been the biggest mistake of my career, I think, if I would have never did it. So yeah, I think that was one of those things that really kind of honed in. People really just kind of telling me what I shouldn't do and what I shouldn't do. And I don't think, if you're not in the industry, you really can't give advice on what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And then at the same time, I don't even think there's a wrong or right way. I think it's just your path.
It's very true.
My thing is, my mindset when I first had the great idea of creating Jonathan Justin handbags was to not say anything. Now, there's nothing wrong with asking for advice. Having a mentor is great. But when it comes to maybe somebody that wants to give you insight, they can either slander your original thought of what you thought you could be. So it was important for me to keep it in-house and to really just focus on what I think should be done and get it done, and then tell the whole world.
Protecting your own energy.
Yeah, protecting it. It's so important too, because people will slander what you want to do in a minute, and then you can completely do something else and not even be as good or successful in it. So it's good to stay on that original thought and work on it. Yeah.
So you worked with so many amazing people, from Chris Brown, Ray J, The Game, as you said, to Queen Latifah, Ariana Grande. What would you say has been your most defining or even proudest moment as a designer?
One of my most proudest moments as a designer, that's actually a really, really good question. I think thus far as a designer, I wouldn't even say, I think everything came out of the fact that my most proudest moment was making the tuxedos for me and my husband for the actual Grammy wedding.
Yes.
That was the biggest one, because it kind of tested me to do it in record time, but I also create something that was iconic, that could live up to the moment and also be like an heirloom for our kids, and just this whole historical moment. And the pictures that were captured with it like everywhere, and it's actually what enabled us to start our business, which is called Room. So that was like the biggest thing, like to be able to it had so many meanings to it because, like you said, I worked with all these people, and I remember us getting ready to go out into the auditorium, and I remember running into Ariana Grande, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm getting married." So, you know, I had pictures of that, and then just to see like people who I looked up to, and here I am getting ready to be authentic and seeing like Smokey Robinson walking up to us and saying like, "Oh my God, who made these tuxedos?" and that kind of thing, and like all these icons that were just like, "Where did y'all get these suits?" And I was like, "Well, I made them. I'm designing," you know. So that was just fun, and then that was really the eye-opening experience after the fact. Like after that, we got so many questions like, "Where'd you get this from?" and all this thing, and then so it became. That's the reason why I'm able to do. Like Ray J's wedding and Tatiana Ali and all that stuff, because it all goes back to that iconic moment of everyone seeing that, you know, the new kids on the block have something different, you know, as opposed to Tom Ford and all this stuff. So that's kind of who we are, like just out of the box menswear designers because of that moment.
That's amazing. That is probably one of the most epic moments in I want to say like LGBT, especially mainstream history, because that was like televised and it was just
yeah.
So my question for you is, because I know you have just a litany of great experience. Like your resume is like it sparkles. Like when I look you up on the internet, like it does. I can literally hear Baby Angel singing when I Google you. And
well, that's a blessing.
You've worked with, you know, fashion icons like Lil' Kim, you know, Toni Braxton. Like, I want to know, what is your proudest moment in your career?
My proudest moment in my career. I would say my second year out the gate, I was in People magazine with Toni Braxton. That for me was absolutely unbelievable. It was a miracle. It was, to this day, it still takes my breath away. Like, it's still one of those things that I look at and I'm still in awe, because when you think about it, it's People magazine and it's Toni Braxton. It's like living legend Toni Braxton.
I do everything on my own.
hey.
I do a lot of things on my own, and I think that makes me proud, because I know some people would probably wouldn't be able to do that. You know, especially designers too. Designers love to have a team. They love to have assistants and all this and all that or whatever. And I'm a true Virgo. I am a true. I'm not sure if you follow the signs or into that or whatever.
I love the signs. I love all of that. You're a perfectionist. I love it.
Yeah. I am a true Virgo, to where I'm a perfectionist. Things have to get done when I want it to get done and how I want it to get done. And sometimes dealing with people, they don't do it to your expectation. So I always, instead of me having to burn bridges with people or, you know, anything like that, I just usually do a lot of things on my own, and I usually get it done when I want to and how I want to. And people are like, "You're going to need help sometime." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." You know, they're like, "Why are you still at the casting calls?" I'm like, hell, when I get bigger, I'm going to still be at my casting calls. I will always be hands-on with what I do.
I know that's right.
That's just, yeah. So, I mean, I think that just makes me proud. I've done a lot of things where I'm proud of, but I think just taking care of a lot of things on your own, that makes me proud of it. Because I'm just like, oh God, when I look back at certain things, I'm like, oh God, how did I do that? How was I able just to really do that on my own? You know, mainly the times I have a team of people, it's a fashion show or a casting, and that's pretty much it. I sew everything on my own. Everything.
Janice Dickinson.
Yes, my lovely soul child.
She is the face of, you know, pretty much Jonathan Justin handbag line.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I was with one of my PR friends. Her name is Rebecca. And she set me up to go and see Miss Lisa Vanderpump at her bar, Pump, in West Hollywood. And Miss Pump didn't show up, but you know, that's okay. But guess who was at that bar? Miss Janice Dickinson, the well-respected Vogue icon that we all know and love. And I originally had a box and bow ready for Miss Vanderpump to check out Jonathan Justin handbags. And you know, of course I was a little down, she never showed up. But Janice was there, and I took a leap of faith like I told you in the beginning, and I said, let me just go and talk to her. And that's exactly what I did. I said, hey, hello, Janice Dickinson. My name is Jonathan Justin, and I'm a handbag designer. She said, what? You were what? And I said, I'm a handbag designer. She said, show me some of your stuff. And I did. I showed her some of my campaign images online and just what I have to offer. And she said, get out of here. This looks like it needs to be in Bloomingdale's. And I said, okay, I got something for you. So again, I had a box and bow ready for Miss Pump. Gave it to Miss Janice Dickinson. She was sold, and she asked me when are we shooting. I didn't even have to ask.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did she, question, not to put you on front,
Sure.
but did she know that the box was originally for
She didn't, but I think she got the idea that it was for somebody.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
And she is that somebody.
She was that somebody that night. She definitely was that somebody.
This whole project, to me, I mean, a lot of things inspired it, but the fact that we are in the midst of the Black Lives Matter movement and that, you know, we are still continuing to fight for LGBT rights, especially with the horrific shooting that happened last year at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. You know, how do we survive and thrive in today's world, especially in Trump's America?
In Trump's America. I say be true to who you are. The biggest thing is you have to love yourself first. You can't expect other people to love you when you don't love you. So I'm really big on knowing who I am. I'm really big on knowing my self-worth. I'm really big on knowing that I love myself no matter if somebody else says they love me or don't love me, if somebody else decides to walk out of my life, family, friends, whatever. You know, I have a sister right now that I barely talk to. And it's because I am a gay, black, African-American male. And we barely talk. You know, we do talk, but we barely talk. But I love myself enough to know that it's okay. I don't necessarily have to have that conversation with her. I don't necessarily have to have her in my life like that. But I think that sometimes it's difficult for people to understand, but you have to be able to love yourself enough to be able to say if somebody decides to walk out of my life, that's their loss, not my loss.
I know, that's right. You better preach. Call the word right there.
Yeah, listen, it takes a minute to get there. And it's not something you get through overnight. It takes a minute. But I think once you get there, you're able to see clearly and you're able to walk away knowing that, hey, I'm gonna be okay. No matter if you love me, you don't love me. I appreciate it if you do. I love you back if you love me. But if you decide not to love me, I'm okay. Whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's relationships, whatever it may be. But I think that comes within years of growing and really finding out who you are as a person.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of like I said, our motto is, you know, just be bold, be authentic, and be inspiring, and then everything else kind of falls in that place. Like, I mean, what can someone say when you're authentically yourself and nobody else? I mean, you can't be that, you know, that's just the easiest thing. But also be bold about it, like be, you know, like you keep your chest up and like whatever you decide to do, just do it. Don't, you know, because like anything, people can smell fear, you know, and I you know, I know that I'm afraid, but we can't live our life in fear, especially now. Like, I know the Orlando thing happened, and I'm sorry for that. But we have to show everybody that we're bold enough to just keep going to the concerts, keep going to the clubs, and be seen. And but be smart about it. And then I think if you live an inspiring life, then you will always try to put out positivity.